If I could have a moment of your time, I promise to share a story that would make you look at a simple can in a whole new way. Picture this: a father walking for over an hour every morning, no matter the weather, rain soaking through his clothes or the Jamaican sun beating down relentlessly. His destination? The fields, where he spent the day tending to cows, riding horseback, and working under that punishing heat. This wasn't just work, it was a responsibility, the kind of hard physical labor that drained your body but fueled your family. And yet, after hours in the fields and miles of walking, they came home, tired, aching, but still making sure that there was something warm on the table. And more often than not, that something was bully beef and rice. Some call it corned beef, but to us Jamaicans, it's bully beef, a meal that was quick, filling, and reliable. The process was simple, but in my parents' hands it felt meaningful. First, they'd open the can, and if you've ever cooked with bully beef before, you know about the key. That tiny metal strip attached to the side of the can. Ah, the infamous bully beef key. Lose it and you'd be in trouble. Snap it halfway through and the real fight began. Trying to break into that can with a knife or a hammer, risking your fingers just to get dinner started. A mother made the same journey, long, dusty roads that felt endless. Her work was no less demanding. She spent her days climbing trees, picking papayas, mangoes, oranges, and whatever other fruits were ready for export. Her hands moved quickly, plucking each fruit carefully, her fingers worn from the constant labor. Then came the onions. They would chop them just right, not too fine, not too chunky, and saute them in coconut oil. Now, this wasn't store-bought oil. My parents made their own. They'd crack open coconuts, grate the flesh, and press out that golden liquid by hand. That oil wasn't just an ingredient, it was part of their routine, a reminder of their resourcefulness. As a child, I didn't think much of it. It was just dinner, wasn't it? But now, as an adult, I understand the weight of it. That kind of bully beef wasn't just food, it was a reflection of their hard work and determination to keep us going. Whoever made it at first would start the fire, chop the onions, and put the rice on the stove. They didn't complain and they didn't rest. Not until we had something to eat. The onions would sizzle in the pot, their sweetness filling the kitchen. Then in went the bully beef, breaking apart as they stirred, its rich, savory aroma mixing with the onions. And if there were mixed vegetables, carrots, peas, or sweet corn, they would toss them in. It stretched the meal just a little further and added a splash of color. But most times, we would use macaroni or baked beans. Meanwhile, on the other burner, the rice simmered, fluffy, simple, and ready to soak up every bit of that flavorful canned meat. It wasn't extravagant, but it was enough. It was food that filled your belly after a long day, food that kept you moving forward. It's funny how something so simple could carry so much weight, but that's exactly what bully beef was. It wasn't just a meal, it was part of their routine, part of the way they take care of us. It wasn't until I became an adult that I started to see the bigger picture. I think about my father, walking miles, tending the cows, and riding horseback under the scorching sun. Think about my mother, picking fruits with her hands, balancing baskets, and braving the rain or heat. And yet, after all of that, they still came home and cooked. It wasn't a home full of I love yous, hugs, or kisses, but I see now that it didn't need to be. Their actions said everything. They worked hard, they made sacrifices, and they showed their care in the most practical ways. Now, when I open a can of bully beef, I don't just see a meal, I see my parents. I see the long walks, the endless hours of work, and the sacrifices they made every single day. Bully beef and rice might seem simple to some, but for families like mine, it was a lifeline. A reminder that even in the hardest times, you can find a way to keep going. So the next time you make bully beef, Think about the hands that prepared it. Think about the strength behind it. And if you'd like me, an adult or a parent now, you might understand just how much went into those meals. Thank you so much for spending these few moments with us. Really appreciate it. Until next time, remember, be kind to each other.